Hey everyone, C-Double-D Reviews here. I am C-Double-D and this is going to be a review of the new David Bowie album, Blackstar. Before we get into this, it's been known already that Mr. Bowie passed away around last night. I wanted to use this opportunity to have a moment of silence for the loss of what I believe to be rock's greatest and most influential human being. Maybe not the greatest, but close to it. So, there we go. Alright, now that's out of the way, let's review this motherfucker. David Bowie, for some reason you're not in the know, was a singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, producer, artist, just overall artistic phenom of every proportion. If you're not familiar with David Bowie, there's a lot of albums in his 26 album discography to divulge in. I personally recommend albums like Hunky Dory, Low, Station to Station, The Man Who Sold the World, Diamond Dogs, Aladdin Sane, and my personal favorite, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. He was at this whole music thing for since he was 15, 1962. And within the course of a few decades, he was able to forge one of rock music's most iconic and influential careers and performances. One that would go to influence a lot of musicians like Lou Reed, Arcade Fire's Win Butler, David Byrne, the Talking Heads in general really, St. Vincent, and the list goes on and on and on. It's very vast of how much influence Bowie has had on music. And this album in particular comes after a comeback release called The Next Day. But yeah, Blackstar. This album was pretty much teased with a self-titled single, which is almost 10 minutes long, which isn't new for David Bowie in particular. The opening track to Station not only was also called Station to Station, but it also went over 10 minutes long, and in my opinion is the best song on the album. This single caught a lot of attention for a few reasons. One, it is 10 minutes long, close to 10 minutes long, technically 9 minutes and 57 seconds long. And the fact that it's so eerie, it's so occult, it's so strange. Not that Bowie's never been strange, obviously, but this one in particular was like an updated kind of strange. The first half of this track in particular being like a jazzy, occult vibe to it, with Bowie having kind of murmured and really creepy vocal delivery about it. The drums themselves are really irregular. The time signature also very irregular. It is a very irregular first half to a track. I would actually argue that this sounds like what Radiohead were doing on The King of Limbs, except much better. Not that The King of Limbs was bad, obviously. I just wish they were like fleshed out in a much more interesting fashion like this. Then on the second half of this single, the track goes into a more blissful territory, like Word on a Wing influence kind of blissful. The drums go into a more standard way. There's like all these really plinkling guitar and string going on in the background, and Bowie himself singing very blissfully. The dark, celestial body that was in the first half has disappeared, and when you look up, there's some kind of angel, or in this case, a black star. No longer this black hole, but a black star, even though they're one and the same. And Bowie himself reciting this mantra, I'm a black star, I'm a black star. He's not a white star, he's not a film star, he's a star. He's not a porn star. He's not a wandering star. There's like all these different types of stars Bowie is not, and he's pretty much putting it out there that he is in fact a black star. And I'm not just reviewing this project just because it's David Bowie, it's now his last album. I'm reviewing this album because it's really freaking good. And after that we get into the second track, 'Tis a Pity She Was a Whore, which kind of has like a new wave vibe to it. There's like this immediate drumming that really carries the track out, along with these like drone-ish harmonium or string. I'm not sure what to describe that, since it's Bowie. A lot of what Bowie does is pretty much indescribable. But there's also like these saxophone and keyboard freakouts that go on. There's actually quite a few like jazzy saxophone moments on this album, like Lazarus and Sue, Dollar Days. I can't give everything away as well. So yeah, this track. Bowie himself is sounding really eccentrically aristocratic on this particular track, and it's really interesting. He's all like, "'Tis a pity she was a whore," and he just sounds so strange all over this album vocally. He obviously doesn't have the chops he used to have like in the 70s or the 80s, but he's still able to morph with the times, and I think if he lived long enough, we would have still saw that. Even if he ended up being like 120 and barely able to sing at all, he would have been able to make the best of it. That's the kind of vocalist and musician Bowie was. Then we move on to the third track, which is actually the second single, and probably one of my favorite tracks on the album, Lazarus. There's like this really descending and eerie saxophone and string melody, da, da, da. And it starts off very subdued and very intimate, with Bowie pretty much singing at sort of the perspective of this biblical Lazarus character, and he pretty much says he's in heaven. Everybody knows him now. There's like scars that no one can see. And then all of a sudden the lyrics transitions into him being this king. He's in danger. King-like status for sure. He's going to New York. He's spending all this money to the point where he has nothing left, longing to be free just like a bluebird. And as like this narrative gets more intense, more dramatic, so too does the instrumentation, in which case it has probably the most fantastic saxophone solo on this entire project at the end of the song itself. Moving on from there, we have the song Sue, or In the Season of Crime, which, oh my god, this song reminds me of if Bowie fronted the Stooges in like the late 90s or something, and they just spent hours and hours just listening to Coltrane and Square Pusher, and then decided to go in and make this jam. Because this sounds like the direct result of that. The guitar chords are very dirty, they're very Detroit sounding, and these drums sound borderline breakbeat, and I love it. I think the only main thing about this track, though, that I have for it is the fact that the instrumentation is this wild, is this crazy, that it kind of distracts from what Bowie is singing about. But still, great track. The first half alone could have been like an excellent EP, but it still remains a great album as it keeps going for 3 more tracks. We get into the song Girl Loves Me, which isn't a bad track. There's like this start-stop feel with some Joy Division era type bass parts. The drums sound nice as the track glides out. My complaint though is the fact that it seems so overly eccentric, I guess. Each line Bowie's singing has like this clipped little run. This day! Something like that. He sings it better than me, and he's 68 years old. It's grown on me, but it just seems really incessant after a while. This has to be my least favorite track on the album. But still a good track. There's no bad track on the album, really. Moving on, we have the song Dollar Days, which is like probably the most ballad-like moment on the entire record. We get these like acoustic guitar and string fusion going on, where Bowie's singing about the realities of what it is now, and he's trying to get through it, trying to get through making this record, trying to get through the artistic process while he knows that he is dying. And it's really heartfelt and really moving. And then the album ends with I Can't Give Everything Away. It sounds like this electronic beat going about it that was hinted at the end of the previous track, which I'm thinking was probably provided by James Murphy of LCD Sound System. I heard that he was credited with percussion on a couple of tracks, as well as these strings going on in the background as we get, once again, another ballad. Not as good a ballad as Dollar Days, but still really tear-jerking and really beautiful nonetheless, in which case Bowie is singing about. He's given us this lyrical palette of his, musical compositions, all this artistic stuff over the course of his life. But he's not going to give everything away. He's not going to explain all this. He's not going to tell you what the lyrics are all about, or this is how you should do it. Become our own masters of art. It's to not just understand where he's coming from, where other artists are coming from, but also to make their own mark in art and also give themselves away. I think that was a beautiful sentiment. So yeah, not really very many complaints about this album. Consequentially, I'm glad this was to be his last album. I was actually under the impression that this was going to be a new stylistic era for him, and unfortunately it's not, which is disappointing, but you know, that's how art goes. The mortal it's himself cannot live forever, but the musician, the recording artist, can through memory and the immortalization that comes from putting stuff on record. I think if this is to be his last album, he's definitely ending on a very high note, and I'm glad he was not just able to get this out before he died, but also see as many people love it as they have, along with me, before he took his last breath. This is a plus 2.5 out of plus 3, over plus 2, less than plus 3. Really great album. Go check it out. If you're a David Bowie fan, there's no reason you shouldn't check this album out, man. You need to try this out. If you have not listened to David Bowie at all, do try it out, but I would recommend going through his 70s stuff if you ever decide to embark on David Bowie's discography. And if for some reason you do not like David Bowie's work, give this a try anyway. I don't really know what to say about that, really. I mean, there's jazz on it. There's borderline IDM on this album. There's not really anything I can personally say that I dislike about it, other than I wish it was longer, and maybe one or two of the tracks could have come off a different way. But still, it's a great album. You should definitely try it out. This is CDD Reviews here, signing off.